Hi everyone, welcome to our first ever episode. We are here at the Rec Center bringing you some wellness information through guests and interactive conversation. My name is Eddie, and I'll be your host.
Hi everybody, my name is Ian. I am the marketing GA here at the Rec, and thank you for tuning in.
So the first thing I want to get down and talk about is what February 2nd means. So it's the celebration of girls and women in sports and what it means that we've worked so hard and strive over the years. Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself in terms of your background?
Sure, yeah. So, like I said, currently I am the marketing GA here with Rowan Campus Rec. I'm also the first year graduate student studying diversity and inclusion. I graduated last May with my bachelor's in sports management from Temple University, and during my undergrad I was able to do different things with sports organizations. I've worked with elite sports, professional teams, youth organizations, nonprofit, but my main focus is really on minor league sports. I really love how, how flexible they are, and especially within independent minor league system, because meaning they're not affiliated with any professional kind of league or collegiate system really, and it's all privately owned, privately ran, by passionate people, really. Right. So, and I love it, really. So yeah.
Sounds so exciting, honestly. Can you tell me some of the teams that you've worked with?
So in the past, obviously, when I first started out, I stayed local in the Philly area. I worked with the Eagles, and the Sixers and the Flyers. And when the Wings, I don't know, it's the indoor lacrosse team, when they first came back, I worked with the Wings as well. But then I started to look at, other teams, and sort of outside of this area, I have family on the West Coast in Portland, and so I spend all my summers over there, and, I kind of stumbled across this independent wood-bat collegiate minor league team called the Portland Pickles, and it's just, it's one of the best summers I've ever had, really. I just love how deep they are connected with the community and the local people, and the room for creativity is just insane. There's no rules at all.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and most recently, though, I worked with the Du Bois Dream, which is also an independent minor league, but it's a basketball team in Du Bois, Pennsylvania, which is western central PA. They're just starting up, and so I kind of brought my experience working with pro teams and the minor league system, and kind of helped them kickstart a little bit. So yeah,
it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to hear more about your experiences. So one of the greatest things that was available to us because of the acknowledgement of this holiday is the fact that women get to be in part of the history making of sports. You obviously have a great background so far. Can you tell me a little bit more about how it feels like working in these fields as a female?
It's the same thing with I think it's very it's weird, right? Because being a person with I guess so many different identities and kind of a complex background, working in such a cisgender white male dominated space, you just have to be persistent, really. You have to advocate for yourself. There will be times where your colleague get an opportunity just because of their identity, and you just have to speak up and defend yourselves. Here's 10 reasons why I'm qualified. And seek out allies, and I think speak up for the people who aren't in the room too, because I feel like when you stand up for someone else, it's so much easier, and you don't need permission to speak up for yourself. Your opinion matters, and I think the more that you stand up for others, the easier it is for you to do it, and the easier it is really to stand up for yourself. And I don't think anyone who has spoken out about injustice has ever regretted it. So,
of course.
So, yeah.
Wow. I don't have the background experience the same as you, but having the opportunity to be able to participate in sports from a young age has opened so many doors for me. I got to make friends, longtime friends. I got to know what it feels like to be an athlete and try different things, honestly. And I never really sat and think about how we are given this opportunity because of such history. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I just love, because sports is so influential in a way that it's so intertwined with our society that there's literally no way that you don't consume sports in one way or another. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whether that's you're playing or you're watching or you're working in sports, there's no way that you can cut it out completely. So I just love that.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. So when you're not being all business, what do you like watching in terms of female sports?
So the WNBA is just so much fun to watch. It's always so exciting, and all the words that you would use to describe men's sports is the same thing, right? So, and the NWSL, obviously, the soccer league. I'm not even into soccer. But once you're in that environment, it's impossible for you to not be a soccer fan, basically. So it's great, always great to go to the soccer games and be in that kind of atmosphere. And I recently got into roller derby, which is actually it's a female only sport. It's more on the it's very competitive. You kind of have to push through people, sort of. It's very unique sport.
So bringing your A game.
yeah. And what I love about that is all the athletes, they have their roller derby name, and
nice.
Yeah. So that's just, it's fun, Wow.
Exciting things.
For sure.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about what does inclusion means for you in terms of sport. What does it look like?
I think it means that when you go into a space or an environment, you don't even think about having to hide a part of yourself or not being yourself at all, or even fear of the judgment that people will have for you to be yourself in that space. You know what I mean? So because masking is it's a very common phenomenon for minorities, right? So I think it's have to all of us mask when we're at work or when we're with other people, and so it's it's honestly unacceptable for you to not be yourself at work, because you achieve the most productivity and comfort when you're being yourself, and we need that. We need you to be yourself at work or at doing any other thing, really. So I think not having to hide any part of yourself and not having to kind of fear judgment from other people for being yourself.
Right, for sure. I totally agree with that. For me, inclusion looks not only in the country that you live in, but in other parts of countries where you have the opportunity to play any sport. Like you said, be yourself, whether that is playing or working in a sport field, allowing you to be as creative as you want to be because you're expressing your individual self. So for sure. Yeah. All right. What opportunities have you been able to work on because of just being able to be in the field?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question because I don't think there's anything specific or any opportunity I got solely because of mine. At least I hope it's not only because of that. And, I hope it's because they actually, value my skills and everything like that. But there are just a huge amount of, diversity pipeline programs in sports. From, weeks to year-long, 2-year-long programs. And to me, I think that's kind of bittersweet, because I would love to have, more people who look like me or more representation of a diverse group of people working in sports. But a lot of times, I think these diversity pipeline programs, they tend to be sort of like a performative method for teams and organizations to say that they are doing things, but they're actually not. And that's actually what I will be focusing on for my master's project is looking at these diversity pipeline programs, from my own experience being in these programs, and talking to people who are currently in the programs, what types of tasks they've been given, how involved leadership is, because I think that's very important for it to have long-lasting effect, and just overall what their experience is like working within an organization that says they value these things and actually host these programs, and their insights basically, and so I think for myself, having worked with the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee within the DEI field, and
which, by the way, is a big deal.
Thank you. But yeah, through that experience and the people I've talked to, it has a very limited effect, in my opinion. So, just trying to explore, is this the best way to do it? Is there a better way that we can sort of go about DEI and not focus solely on distributive justice, So, because a lot of times when these programs end, things just kind of go back to normal.
Right.
And, not much has changed, and so that's look at some other avenues and see how we can approach this better. So
that reminds me. One of the biggest things that social media or we've seen lately is accountability.
Right.
So how does that hold up in your field?
I think it's right. You have to recognize that, right? But also, what does that look like after you acknowledge that? So last year, during the protest and everything for Black Lives Matter, all the teams, right? They put out a statement. They said, right, they said, this is, we value this, this is very important to us, but then what is the follow-up action after that? Anybody can post a black square on social media, but what's that going to do if there's no follow-up action, right? And so I think the important part is, okay, what is the actionable, component in this whole thing? What are you actually doing to better yourself or better the environment for those around you and actually advocate for the, marginalized community? So
powerful stuff. All right. Well, what's one thing you wish you knew before you started your career?
I think don't pick a job or a team or organization to work for. Pick a leader that you want to work with. Pick someone who would back you up, who would advocate for you when you're not there, who would let you fail, and I feel who values you and your work and values you as a human being, and who makes you feel like, make you feel safe enough to go to and say, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help, right? And really, the main thing is, I think getting rejected is better than getting hired for the wrong job.
Right. So a career space where you're allowed to grow and express yourself.
100%.
Being able to have team members that you trust.
For sure. And because a lot of times when you first start out, rejection is such, it's always going to hurt. But like I said, you don't want to be stuck in the wrong job, so, and in the interviews, ask, you're interviewing them too, so if you're interviewing with your direct supervisor who's going to be, ask what their leadership style is, and if it's compatible with your working style. Do they encourage innovation and risk-taking? When was the last time they, promoted or rewarded or just acknowledged someone or a team that, take a big risk and failed?
Right, because quite often when you're stepping into a new role, especially when it comes to jobs, you're scared to allow yourself to be the potential that you have. Because there are limitations sometimes, and then there are things that you're not so sure about. And like you said, mistake does hurt, but it's a learning lesson.
It's always trial and error, and I think, if they can't answer your question about if they encourage innovation or risk-taking, that's, you probably want to look for another place where you can actually get some actually get some work done, So, yeah, I think that's, for me, that's very important. But yeah.
What advice would you give to newcomers who are looking to dip their feet in the water?
Be confident and just ask. Sometimes, because in sports specifically, building your network is just probably the most important thing. And just ask. I always slide into people's DM on LinkedIn. It doesn't matter. And I don't
professionally
for sure. But I've never asked someone if I can just grab coffee or just hop on a call really with someone, and that person has said no.
Okay.
Nobody had really said no, I don't want to do that ever.
That makes sense. You're taking initiative.
Right. And, it doesn't have to be when you need a job or, oh, my gosh, I'm graduating in the month and I need a job. No, do it now. Do it, you build your relationships whenever, right? And because that way, when you actually do need a job, they will think of you instantly because you kept in touch, you took the initiative and you check in with them. It doesn't have to be with the, I don't want to say purpose, but even when you just saw something walking somewhere and you took a picture of that and say, oh, I saw this and I thought of you, I wonder how you're doing. Do you have,
so checking in.
Yeah, do you have 15 minutes to hop on the call? I love to catch up a little bit. Things like that, easy stuff that you don't really have to plan out at night. Obviously, those people are busy, but, 15 minutes for a call or something like that, it's not going to, take a lot.
Anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. You've had experience with the pro and the minor. Which is your favorite and why?
I think, like I said, sports is such an influential factor in our society. Pro teams, they have this huge platform to youth, which is great. But I think with the minor league system, you are actually, with the people, sort of. You actually see what your impact is in the community, and there's just, like I said, so much room for creativity, and there's just no rules at all, and and I love that, and it
in a good way, right?
In a good way, for sure. And that shows you can actually like work towards what you believe in, like the values that you believe in, and support local businesses that you want to support, and like do, like I said, do the things that you believe in. Like, so when I was with the pickles, we actually worked on the first ever like CBD deal in baseball. It's very much still a taboo subject, obviously, but I mean, marijuana just got taken off the substance list like
recently,
like 2 years ago, I think. And so there's no way, and with minor league, like I said, it's just, I mean, their mindset is just like, why not? And so, yeah, I did my entire senior project on this, on marijuana and sports, so we can talk about that another time.
Quick question before we go. If there's anything or a few things that you could change about female sports, what would it be?
I've had multiple people told me this in the past. Stop apologizing. Don't say sorry, because I call myself doing that a lot, even when I'm not supposed to, because I feel like as women we're programmed that way, like admit fault, which we really like, even when we're not doing anything.
That's true. I do that often.
Yeah. So don't say sorry. Stop apologizing. It's not your fault. But yeah.
Amazing. All right. That is it for us today. Thank you guys for joining us in our first episode. I'm your host, Eddie, and thank you so much, EU.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in.